Hello. I can't see anybody, so sorry about that. So I'm Emma Cheshire. Some of you may know me. I run .Forge, which is an early stage accelerator for technology companies. And more recently, with my partner in crime, Steve Wainwright, I've established Future Labs, which is what we hope will be one of the homes for tech in Leeds. And Josh really kindly asked me whether or not I'd come and just tell you a little bit about the story about why set up a hub in Leeds and why set up a tech hub in particular that's really focused on supporting early stage software companies and people that kind of care about that space. So this is a bit of our story, and I'm kind of starting with a classic kind of Irish statement, I guess, which is, if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have started where we originally started, but we kind of eventually got there in the end, essentially. So this is bad code on a phone. I guess some of you may remember Old Broadcasting House when it was originally a co-working space run by Linda Broughton. And when that was closed kind of about 3 years ago, a lot of us really missed that space because Linda was a very great investor in people and individuals and helping build kind of early stage companies. And she was a little bit of a kind of talisman for this sector. So I think a lot of us felt that space closing and not being available to anybody was a real kind of blow for the city. And at the same time, me and a lot of other people, and I guess you guys, everybody, was kind of going elsewhere and seeing amazing spaces, particularly in London and Edinburgh and Berlin and, Glasgow, fantastic spaces for kind of tech companies, but nothing that really spoke, certainly to me, but spoke to me about tech being a thing that people cared about in Leeds in a way that it had a place for itself. And so we got together, frankly, actually a lot of people. So we started having these meetings in pubs and saying, okay, how do we create a tech hub? What does that look like? Why are we even caring about this journey? What does this look like in terms of what does it need to be, and what should we attempt to do? So it was a lot of people, and actually over the 3 years of this story, we lost most of those people because, frankly, setting this thing up as a labour of love and a purely thing that we spent all our time on with no pay and no return it requires a lot of stamina. So as a group, we kind of looked at what we thought success needed to look like really for this hub, and these are things to be challenged, but this is where our starting point really. We felt, rightly or wrongly, that it needed to be a not-for-profit, that ultimately this was not about setting up a kind of an office space where what we did was exploited those companies in that space. We felt that whatever happened within that organisation, it needed to be able to reinvest in the community. So this was more about how it supported the community and getting that business model right than setting up a building and hoping that people kind of rented office space and built their companies in it, but we got a lot of return. So that was a kind of really kind of important starting point. And the other bit was just, frankly, keep it simple. A bit of co-working, a bit of hot desking, no business over 30 people. This was really about supporting the small guys as they started up, not attempting to kind of fill the building with really well-established businesses that could probably be elsewhere. And the other bit that was really important to us, and we probably quite haven't got right yet, but was having an event space that we could offer with our business model for free to most of the volunteer-led startup spaces, because I am a real believer that when you get lots of different types of people in a space, you get a really great set of serendipity. So people meet their co-founders, they share ideas, they share skills, and tonight in the hub we've got 2 meetups, very different ones happening, and therefore you get a kind of crossover of different types of skills happening, and that's really what we wanted to kind of start seeing by just being able to offer space for free for people that were working hard trying to get their communities to talk to each other. And then the other bit was we needed to be a talisman, or sort of like a space where the money also found the right people to invest in. So being able to have relationships with investors, relationship with accelerators, and relationships with other types of networks, so that the businesses inside the hub could really kind of connect. So these were all the things we were thinking about when we were kind of starting to put this idea together. And it wasn't going to be a space where everybody got shit advice from, frankly, old guys in grey suits. Tech is not that space. It's about peers helping peers, and learning from each other. It's not about somebody's dad's business advisor telling them how to run a business. So we really wanted to make sure that we weren't inviting those people into this space as well. So this was kind of our thinking. So that was kind of like the ethos, I guess, of kind of where we started, and we now have a sort of community board that's made up of some really great people, and we're just starting to probably rediscover these and so revoice these and test these with the kind of greater communities we've kind of started. But the other bits to really consider when we were sort of putting this together, and this was why it was a 3-year journey. Really, we kind of came up with that list really quickly. Then we just spent a lot of time looking for the right space, and it had to have these things. And one of them was it just had to be close to the train station in Leeds. It's completely illogical if we put anything on the ring road. Who cares, really, out there? This is a really small kind of city centre, and we wanted to be able to be in a place where everybody could kind of find it and walk to it, particularly if they were landing in the city. And the other thing was finding the right property partner to work with, because actually a lot of people just see dollar signs when you start talking about a tech hub. They kind of go, excellent, I'm going to make a lot of money out of this. This is not a property play. We're not interested in working with a property developer that only is interested in making a lot of money out of this. Frankly, you make a lot of money probably from the people that kind of spin out of this hub, but this hub has to be something that is a little bit more protected than that. And it's very much, again, why we set it up as a not-for-profit. It's about reinvesting in that community. It's not about buildings making a lot of money out of businesses. And then we had to find the right type of building that wasn't a rabbit warren. I tried to find a rabbit warren, but there's no pictures of rabbit warrens. So you got this. So we spent about 3 years finding the space that we've got now. And in that 3 years, we also started to, this really feels like I'm standing on a boat trying to look out to sea out here. So I'm sorry about that. I sort of feel like walking away from that big spotlight. In fact, I'm going to, so I can see you all. That's better. So while we were looking in Leeds and while we were talking to people and while we were trying to find the right space, we also had a look at the national context and worked out that actually there's not very good tech hubs in a number of other big cities in the north of England as well. And although I live in Leeds and a lot of my work comes out of Leeds, I also work in Newcastle, Manchester, Sheffield, London, Glasgow, as everybody does, right? And so really we all have connections with those cities as well. So we started working, oh, God, this clicker is a bit manic. So we started working with particularly Sheffield and Manchester because, again, those cities didn't have a kind of independent, not-for-profit, let's invest in the community hub. And we actually got into number 10 and started saying, we know you invested in Google Campus in London. We know you've invested in the spaces in Edinburgh and Glasgow. You need to invest in the north of England. And this kind of argument, I guess, happened at the right time. So we were really lucky to be able to have those conversations, and we made our argument, and we were able to secure 1.11 million for the 3 cities, as 3 cities working together and as 3 tech communities working together. So this wasn't about local authorities lobbying, it wasn't about your elected members, it was literally 7 of us from 3 cities using our connections to be able to go and sit down with the Chancellor at number 10 and have that conversation. It took us a while, but we did, and we got this in the statement in 2015. When it was announced, and it's now been devolved down to the local authorities. So that's a bit of the journey of why we're trying to make a tech hub in Leeds and kind of the work that we've done. So to date, we now, slightly scruffy building, but I really love it. So we're now at 1 Eastgate, which is just around the corner from here. So if you haven't come and found us, to do. We kind of opened in March with some extremely ropey Wi-Fi, and now finally have proper Wi-Fi, and we did a proper launch in July. So we're filling up. I think we've only got one office space left at the moment, but we're going to open some more office space in about another 3 weeks. So do come and check out what we do. And we've got a bunch of meetups that are using the space regularly and a bunch of irregular meetups. So if you do want to use the space, you do want to run your own meetup, please come and talk to us as well. We are all about helping people that are helping the community. Because the building isn't, we've literally spent about $5,000 by getting a little loan to renovate this space. It's not beautiful, it's functional. But I think it's got most of the ingredients that people need to make their business work. And our ambition ultimately is to take over a whole building, 26 to 56,000 square foot in the city centre in Leeds, and use that capital to kind of design the tech hub for Leeds. So if you want to be involved in that, if you have a view of how that needs to look and what else that should be doing, we really want your input, because Steve and I have been battling this for a while, and it's definitely time now for a lot of other people to get involved in this what we're trying to build here. So come and talk to me afterwards, and that's why we built Future Labs. Thank you.